This is part 2 of a quick look at several platforming games for the PS2. Watch part 1 if you haven't already. Or don't, it's up to you. Rayman 2. Yet another instance of a game being just okay. This was the first game I played right after completing Psychonauts, and the contrast was rather stark. Psychonauts is filled to the brim with personality, charm, and originality, while Rayman 2 isn't. It's just a standard, straightforward, by-the-numbers platformer with a bland story and predictable gameplay loop. It's not bad, it's perfectly decent, but without anything that unique or memorable, there's really not much it has to offer. Platformer fans will like it fine, while everyone else can just skip it. I've heard good things about some of the other Rayman games, so I will give them a shot, but this one didn't do much for me. Scalar. Okay, this game is weird. The main character is obsessed with lizards, and somehow turns into a lizard, and gets sucked into an alternate dimension full of lizards, I guess? On top of that, it turns out he's a freedom fighter for lizards. What a random animal to be advocating for. Gameplay-wise, it's once again another fairly typical 3D platformer, based around collecting items and making your way through the levels. But the environment design is pretty cool and unique, and there's enough variation in the core gameplay to make it stand out from other platformers. It's definitely not on the same level as Psychonauts, but it's still pretty good, even if it didn't really grab me. Sly Band of Thieves. I enjoyed the first Sly Cooper game, and I did like this game as well, but this one didn't quite click for me as well as the first one. It still has the same characters, cartoony style, and sense of humor that made the first game so enjoyable, but the way the game was structured just felt a bit off to me. While the first game was based around going level by level, like most traditional 3D platformers, in this one the game is based around different heists that take place in a small sandbox map where you go mission by mission. I like some of the new changes, but the way the missions were implemented felt a bit restrictive. When you're just exploring the sandbox, you have a lot of freedom, but the second a mission starts, you have to rigidly follow a certain set of instructions or else you fail. I don't know, it just felt rather inorganic in how it was implemented. And of course, the game carries over my biggest issue with the first game and makes it worse. I really enjoy the Sly Cooper games when you're playing as, well, Sly Cooper. I really don't enjoy them when you're forced to play as one of his dopey friends. While there were a few levels where you had to play as someone other than Sly Cooper, in the first game it was kept to a minimum. In Sly 2, though, Bentley and Murray are given much more prominent roles in the gameplay, and I really didn't like it because their sections are the worst parts of the game. They're either boring, tedious, frustrating, or all of the above. And if somehow they aren't any of those things, they'll usually still leave you wondering why Sly couldn't have just done that instead. Bentley and Murray worked perfectly fine as background characters, and I don't really see why it was necessary to give them so much focus. Sly 2 is a good game overall, but the parts where you aren't playing as Sly Cooper really dragged it down for me. It's worth checking out if you liked the first game, but if you didn't like the first game, it's probably safe to skip. Toko Bots: Mysteries of the Karakuri. That's Karakuri, not Katakuri, though that would be pretty cool. Toko Bots was a game originally for the PSP, and it does show. It's a puzzle platforming game where the main gimmick is controlling a small group of robots to help you reach platforms, fight off enemies, and solve puzzles. It's nothing amazing or groundbreaking, but it's a fun little game. It has a simplistic charm to it, and while it can get a little frustrating at times, it's mostly fair in its challenges. Worth a look if you enjoy platformers or puzzle games. Treasure Planet. The PlayStation 1 Treasure Planet tie-in game was the first video game I ever played, and so while I recognize that it's nothing special, I do have a bit of a soft spot for it. And it is worth a look if you like Treasure Planet. So I figured I'd give the PlayStation 2 version a try. The result? It's a glitchy, broken piece of crap. I can't play it for more than 2 minutes without falling through the floor, or having the camera take a giant leap into the skybox and leaving the player character behind, never to return. So I have no choice but to conclude it's bad. And finally we have Beautiful Joe. I can safely say that the game is good, but it just wasn't clicking for me. It's definitely worth checking out if you haven't played it already, so I will give it a recommendation even though it wasn't my cup of tea. That's it for the roundup. I seem to be holding strong with my goal of uploading one video per week. Hopefully I can maintain the schedule. If you liked the video, feel free to comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, all that stuff. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.